I'm now by Dominion House on Queen's Road East. And Dominion House is interesting because it's got a shopping arcade in it that is immediately abutting onto the footpath. So that instead of having a piddly little 3-metre footpath, you've actually got about a 6-metre footpath there, effectively. On the left side behind the columns is actually technically a shopping arcade in the building. The reason I've stopped here is because of this lovely tree here. Look at this. This is Liquidambar formosana. And I reckon this was planted about 8 years ago. I can't exactly remember. But look at that, gone straight up. So it was a really nice straight growing trunk. And it was actually planted quite small. It was planted, when it was planted, it was barely taller than me. And I think this is an example of how much better the trees grow when they're planted a little bit smaller, without having been pruned back at all. And this has just grown straight up, beautiful like that, with a lovely new foliage coming out. Liquidambar formosana. So when it's young, it's actually an excellent street tree. Look at that. Not interfering with the buses or anything. Easy to take off the side branches if necessary. And in fact, there is a bit of a story here, this row of trees. I mean, it's the only place in the whole of Queen's Road East, well, pretty well the whole of Queen's Road, where trees could be planted in the footpath, and that's because of the configuration of Dominion House, like this. I mean, if only all the other buildings had been built like this, the city would have been transformed. Anyway. Originally this was a row of Cinnamomum camphora, and when was Dominion House built? In the 80s, but I can't remember when. I'll see if I can find out. Or the only Cinnamomum camphora that are left are at the far end. I'll show you in a minute, and so they're now 35 years old, something like that. Anyway, all the Cinnamomum camphora in front of the actual building itself failed. I'm sure they were not very good plant stock anyway, but of course the ones right slap bang up against the building are under more pressure than the others, and of course there's more deliveries here, so trucks more likely to crash into the trees. They were replaced probably say 10 years later ish by Ficus benjamina. We got one of the Ficus benjamina there. And then here we can see that the Ficus benjamina are now, some of them are now toppling over, or leaning out, or get smashed up, or get bashed into by trucks. And one of them has been removed completely here, and then there's a new plant, a new tree has been planted here, which is yet another species, I think Xanthostemon chrysanthus. Never mind too much about that, but so we end up with a hodgepodge of whatever LCSD happened to have on their truck at the time when they need to plant a tree. So the original design is sort of rather forgotten about. Except that once the tree is in, you know, I mean, they're sort of obliged to keep replanting the tree unless it's really realistically impossible to do so. So here's the Ficus benjamina, and down at the end here are the only two remaining Cinnamomum camphora opposite this little park. So you know, those are nearly 40 years old, and I mean they're like probably half the size, if that they would have been, that they would be if they'd been planted in a park, you know, with plenty of room to root and grow. But anyway, you can see the distinctive rough bark of the Cinnamomum camphora. So there's a little story there. So if you can get developers of buildings on streets to put in their shopping arcade as an extension of the footpath, this is a wonderful thing.